Hello, my name is Alan, and welcome to the Youth News Network special on entrepreneurship and financial literacy. Today I'm joined by Jada and Nija, and we're talking about finances in general and understanding them, especially as it relates to business. This is a fun segment. We're going to do a little bit differently. I have some rapid fire questions in here. I'm going to ask you guys, are you ready?
Ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Good, okay. All right, let's see. Oh, this is already a fun one. So what's the biggest financial mistake you've made?
Ooh.
I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll say
Okay.
the biggest mistake was not budgeting. That's one of the biggest things I can say. Not budgeting, not using the money wisely. That's one of the biggest things I can say for one of the mistakes.
Oh, definitely. I know mine was not making it a habit to check my checkings account. I'll be in my head like, oh yeah, I have about $200 something in there. And then you just swipe, and then you don't check it for 2 weeks, and you're like, wait a minute, where did all the money go?
Yep, isn't that Thursday? I'm an overspender, so I run into that same issue, but like, it's just terrible.
Definitely.
All right, next question. What is considered a good credit score to you? That's an important one.
That's a good one too.
Right.
I personally do not know because I do not have a credit card at the moment. I know that they usually tell you, okay, when you do have a credit card, put it on like little expenditures. So do like gas or a drink here so that it's easy to pay off. But as far as financial scores go, do you know anything?
Yeah. I know a lot about credit,
Okay.
at least a little bit. For me, I want the perfect credit score. I want the 820, the 850. I want the, especially with credit. Like I have a credit card, I own a couple credit cards. I have a business credit card. So stuff like that, I'm really like, I want to have the best of the best for that.
That's
What about you, Alan?
Yeah, so you're saying 820. I mean, for me, credit isn't as important, but it's definitely something you need to have a good understanding of, especially when it comes to the opportunities it creates, because you don't want to limit yourself. So just making time for it and putting in effort to getting your credit score high is important. But I think for me, like, maybe 700s is a comfortable place.
I would say so. That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, but I don't know. We're young, so
We got
you
got
have
enough
a lot of time to get it
build
right.
that credit.
Right.
Start now. Oh yeah, start now. Start early.
Here's a good one. How did you guys learn about financial literacy?
Ooh, I was actually a part of a class for 4 years in my high school called AVID, where they take young kids and they walk them through the process of going to college, but not only that, how to take a loan, how to be financially like literate as well as financially holding yourself. So my teacher was the one that taught me most of the financial like do's and don'ts that I know now.
No kidding.
Ooh,
Yeah.
for me, financial literacy is both my parents. Both of them taught me how to budget, how to worry about money. Both of them was very taught me about financial literacy for real, for sure.
Those are both great sources to get from school. It's really convenient since you have to learn about stuff anyway. And then your parents, you can never undervalue the
definitely.
importance of that relationship. It's killer. What's the best? So this is the opposite end of the spectrum. What's the best financial decision you guys have made so far?
Ooh, I would have to say my MacBook and my tablet that I use for all of my business, for all of my drawing. They say in the art world, if you want an art program, you gotta have Adobe and you gotta have Procreate. Procreate is like the best one across the board. And for the longest time, I've just been using like Procreate clones that like worked because like I didn't have the money to purchase one, but after I finally saved up and got that, I've seen a tremendous increase in my workflow, and thus that'll help me get more money later. So if it's something that you really need for business, don't skimp on it.
Yeah, the biggest thing is laptop. Getting the laptop that are not one of the cheap laptops, like like a good like Apple laptop for my business to promote for editing stuff like that. That was the biggest thing that I've done with it.
Well, those are huge. Laptops are so versatile. You can use them for everything. For me, mine has to be my phone. Same concept, same reason. Just it's in my pocket. It's quick. But one thing I will say is that really just start with whatever you have. I mean, like if like you said, you used other tools before you got enough to get the one that you wanted.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it probably made it more convenient. But as long as you start somewhere, that's a good place to be. All right. Here's the next one. When creating a budget, either professionally or personal, what do you guys personally keep in mind?
Okay. I know I personally keep in mind what I'm most likely to spend like money on. So when you're like just budgeting in general, you're like, okay, is food the most expensive thing? Do you have money set aside for bills? Do I have money set aside for art supplies? Like what are my big things? And usually because like certain art supplies will come in during certain parts of the year, I have to budget differently depending on that.
Right.
So I keep those three things. It's like, hey, am I eating? Do I have stuff for school? Can I make stuff for my business? Those are the three big ones, and then I budget around those expenditures.
Absolutely.
Okay, for me, more of a like the business side. For me, spreadsheet. Like I look at the cost, how much everything costs, what am I spending it on, where am I spending it at? And then on the personal, kind of pick it off what you said, the same thing, like where am I spending it, how am I spending it, where am I spending it? So it's both on the same side, just on the business side, it's more, I use the spreadsheet to see my costs, the overhead, everything that I'm using.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, of course, understanding what kind of expenses you have to take on, whether they're fixed expenses or if they're variable. And once you kind of understand that, you can play around with it a little bit. I'm a huge coupon nerd.
Oh my gosh, couponing
discounts.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, promo codes. And so, but once you know kind of how much you have to spend and play around with, that's when it gets fun. You can dive into it.
Oh, definitely.
All right, here's the next question. Have you guys personally thought about investing? Do you know where to start? What's kind of your headspace on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've heard so much about investing, and I do feel like later on in the future I will. My sister, she's a huge investment, like she loves stocks. She's been teaching me all about that. So I know once I've like gone through her little mini lessons and classes, I would definitely be thinking about that in the future. Because it's a really good opportunity, and you'll be able to have just different little pockets that your money can go to, and hopefully make more money later.
See, that's a good start, what you said. I was going to say stocks. If I'm going to invest, it's going to be in stocks. And I have thought about investing, just not right now.
Yeah,
Not right now, because I really don't know what I'm doing just yet, but
Yeah.
I've been playing around with stocks, learning it, and figured out what I want to do with it.
And that's a good point. I think with any investment, really understanding like the risks for what you're going to do. Is it something that makes sense for you to spend money on right now? Or is it safer to have the money and keep it in your pocket? I mean, I feel like that's something a lot of people, especially young people, deal with because it's tough.
It's very tough. And there's so many like new apps right now where it's like, oh, every time you buy coffee, every time you go like do gas, they'll take like a penny or a nickel and they start investing that to teach you the process. I feel like if investing is really, really something you want to get into, that's like a good like kind of minimum low risk to start at.
Sure, absolutely. Not only is there a lot of apps to get you to spend money on, but then there's also a lot of assets that people, one of the things I try to remember is that they're trying to sell you, this thing to invest in. So when you click on it, everything about it is trying to get you to spend money on it. And so like doing your research, getting a real understanding of what it is you're spending money on, make sure it's something you're passionate about because there's risks involved, I think is very important.
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we've shared some stuff about our biggest financial challenges, what are some of yours? We're curious. Comment them down below.